Greetings from Bible Worm. We're on hiatus for the rest of the summer, but we'll be back with a new season of narrative lectionary episodes beginning on September 6th for regular listeners and August 30th for subscribers. In the meantime, we hope you'll enjoy this episode from our Revelation and Resistance series, which first aired in summer 2025.
Bible Worm, reading the Bible with Bible Worm.
Welcome to Bible Worm, getting to the core of the biblical text. I'm Dr. Amy Robertson, Director of Lifelong Learning and Music at Congregation Or Hadash in Sandy Springs, Georgia.
And I'm Dr. Robert Williamson, Professor of Religious Studies at Hendrix College and Theologian in Residence of Canvas Community in Little Rock, Arkansas. We're here every week to discuss the biblical text, both as biblical scholars and as people of faith, one Jewish and one Christian.
Today we are reading Revelation chapter 5, the whole thing, which is only 14 powerful verses long. We encounter the image of a scroll that is covered with words that might change the world as we know it, but it has been sealed tight with nobody to open it. Then we encounter the Lamb in a series of images that just make no sense. This Lamb who is the lion, this Lamb who stands as if slaughtered, this slaughtered Lamb who can open the scroll, who redeemed the people not for their own sake, but for God. Is the imagery frightening or hopeful or weird? Can it be all three? Thanks for being with us. Hey, Bobby, it's Bible Worm time again.
It is Bible Worm time again, and not just any Bible Worm time, but summer Bible Worm time.
It's true.
Which is very special. And Revelation Bible Worm time, which is its own special kind of thing.
Summer Bible Worm Revelation. That's what we should call, I don't know what we should call that.
Summer,
but it would be a very fancy
Summer Bible
name.
Worm Revelation, Summer Bible Worm Revelation. Reading the Bible in the summertime. It's Summer Bible Worm Revelation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Amy, I got some sad news this morning that is on my heart that I feel I want to share, which is that my dear mentor and friend Walter Brueggemann died last night. And so I am full of gratitude and also full of sadness, just both for myself and then, I don't know, like Walter's been a really important voice in the progressive Christian church for many years. And so I feel a sadness for the church and the world to not have his voice any longer.
Yeah, Bobby, your relationship with, I could call him Walter, I've never even met the man, has been really special for the whole time that I have known you. So I imagine that is heavy.
It is heavy. He always used to say this thing that I never really understood at the time, which was that speech leads reality. I was like, what on earth does that mean? I was not a very astute literary critic, I suppose, at the time. But then I was thinking about that. I've been working on this book about him for a little while. And so I've had a lot of time in the last few years to reflect on sort of his legacy, but also his influence over me. And I was realizing, like, there was this day in my first year of seminary, it had never in the world occurred to me to be a Bible scholar, or indeed that being a Bible scholar was like a thing that people did. And after my first semester in seminary, Walter invited me out to lunch at Sweet Melissa's on the square in Decatur. You remember that place?
I remember that place.
And so I was there with Walter Brueggemann. I was very intimidated. And he was like, Bobby, you need to go to graduate school and be an Old Testament professor. And I was like, what? And then that moment was like shaped the whole rest of my life. Like that's what I did with graduate school. Like that's how I met you. That's how I got to Hendrix. Like that's why,
That's
just
why
like
you do what you do in the
one of
world.
those moments. And so I was reflecting on that as like, speech leads reality. Like had he never spoken that into the world, I would never have imagined it. And I would be living some other less good life than the one I have.
Wow.
So in a very direct sense, I kind of attribute a lot in my life to him, not just academically, but also personally.
Yeah. And I can totally see how, when I was when I was very young and would be very distressed at the idea of death and would ask my parents about it. They are secular folk. And, they would just say like, well, when you die, you die. That's what happens. And I found this completely horrifying.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom saying that you live on through the people that you have shaped, which was 0% comfort to me at all at that time.
But then you start to see how true that is when you
But I see how true that
age.
is. Like I see how you have carried his scholarship and also just the spirit of his scholarship in your own scholarship and teaching and church work. So that is an honor to him. And I would love for us to dedicate our study in his honor and his memory today.
Well, good. Let's do it.
Yeah. Maybe I hope we can reach the bar of honor in this.
Well, I think we should not set the bar that high.
We're trying. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Bobby, today we are reading Revelation chapter 5. We have gone out of order in the book Revelation. So we did chapter 1 and then we skipped ahead and now we're coming back.
Yes.
So we sort of like know what's coming way, further down the pike.
Right.
And we know what was at the very beginning.
Right.
Is there any kind of like more immediate context setting that you think might be helpful to us when we're picking up here?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One is that I should probably just unveil my logic in the way that we put together this series, which is to say, in some very real sense, I think the text that we're looking at today, and really the Revelation as a whole, is offering a counter symbol system for the symbols of the Roman Empire. It's saying that followers of this book, followers of the Lamb, are meant to inhabit a world that is different than the one inhabited by the Roman Empire or the one on offer from the Roman Empire. And so last week when we looked at 13 and 17, that was an attempt to kind of say, how is Revelation thinking about the world offered by the Roman Empire? And we saw it as dragon, beasts, and seductress. And we saw the kind of logic of conquering and that kind of like who can conquer the beast and who can defeat him or whatever. And so in my head, what we're looking at today is trying to contrast that image. But if you don't already have that image in your head, which we don't because we don't live in the Roman Empire, right? And so like what might have been clear to a first century reader is obscure to us. And so that's the way that I was thinking when we put this together is let's see how Revelation is talking about Rome. And now let's come back and see how Revelation is talking about Jesus and what it means to be a follower of Jesus. One really important thing has happened in the text. So we're back in chapter 5. At the beginning of chapter 4, John is, in his trance state on Patmos, as we saw 2 weeks ago. And at the beginning of chapter 4, the text says, a door opened in the heavens and a voice said, John, come up here. And so John has been transported in his trance from his, mundane existence in Patmos up into heaven. And so now he's viewing everything from the heavenly realm. And he can still, I guess, see the earth and he can see everything, but he's now in the presence of God and the angels and the throne and he's in the divine throne room is where he is. And so we've got this sort of bifurcated sense of space now where, things are still happening on the earth, but suddenly what's happening in heaven is also available to John and therefore to us. And that's the way that sort of the rest of the book of Revelation unfolds with that sort of sense of two different realities happening at the same time.
That description of his hey, come up here, come upstairs, just come up here.
Up.
And then your use of the word like throne room, like the divine throne room, it had me thinking about two different Hebrew Bible connections that I'm just going to sort of hold in my mind. One of them is sort of maybe like Daniel or like some other texts where like some kind of ascent to a heavenly realm is mediated in some way. Like it's not, you don't just go
right
by yourself.
Right.
So that's on the one hand. And then on the other hand, there's sort of the experience that Isaiah has in the divine
Oh, yeah.
throne room. That's not in the heavenly realm per se. It's in the temple
Right.
that he just as a prophet, I guess, has access to that level of, I don't know,
Yeah.
sight of what's going
Yes.
on in there. But this is an interesting sort of melding of those different ideas of how humans might gain access to the divine realm.
I really love those connections, Amy. You know, in the Hebrew Bible, there's at least two figures. Well, Elijah is taken up bodily into heaven and seems to have some sort of bodily existence, like he never dies. And then there's that obscure figure in the book of Genesis whose name is Enoch. And the text says he lived for 365 years and then he was not. He walked with the Lord and then he was not.
Yeah.
And so it never says he died. And
Yes.
so the understanding
Yes.
of later readers is that Enoch was taken up into heaven. And there's a number, as you well know, of Jewish apocalypses beginning in the 3rd century BCE that Enoch delivers. And he's up in the heaven and he has these amazing journeys where he sees where the hail is stored and where the bodies go, like the souls go until the resurrection and all of these things. So there's a rich tradition
Yes.
of that. And here we're getting a little bit of it from
Yes.
John.
Yes. Thank you for bringing them up also. Yeah. All different angles of that sort of, I don't know, world of thinking, story, belief system. Yeah. Okay. So today we're going to read the whole of chapter 5, which is not that long of a chapter, 14 verses. And if you are ready, I'm going to jump in.
Let's do it. This might be a little bit different than what we actually published. I think we published 5:1 to 11, and then it feels like 5:1 to 14 is the way to go. So I just want to acknowledge that even when I create our own texts, we still expand
You
them.
create them shorter so we have the opportunity
Exactly.
to expand them.
Yeah.
That's good. I love it. All right, I'm reading from the NRSV. When I saw in the right hand of the one seated on the throne a scroll written on the inside and on the back, sealed with 7 seals. And I saw a mighty angel proclaiming with a loud voice, "Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals?" And no one in heaven or on earth or under the earth was able to open the scroll or to look into it. And I began to weep bitterly because no one was found worthy to open the scroll or to look into it. Then one of the elders said to me, "Do not weep. See, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the Root of David, has conquered, so that he can open the scroll and its 7 seals." This description of the scroll, just from the beginning, that it is sealed with 7 seals, and they're looking for someone who can break the seal so we can see what's in this scroll.
Right.
You know, the scroll had me thinking about the scroll in the book of Ezekiel, where Ezekiel's given a scroll and is told to eat the scroll, and then he sort of has the vision within him or the knowledge within him. This is a different way of coming at it here. But who is worthy to break the seals? It was making me think about the seals as having some kind of relationship to the idea of pulling back the veil. Like, who is worthy to start this? We talked a lot in our first episode about what we're even talking about with the word revelation and the idea of a veil and
Right.
pulling it back and what happens when you pull it back. Does that make sense to you? What do you think? What do you think of that possible connection?
Yeah, I think that's a really good connection. I mean, one of the questions that immediately occurs to me is what on earth is written on that scroll? You know, and it's a whole lot of stuff. The idea of a scroll written on the front and the back is really an unusual idea.
Yes.
It's like, like, did you ever, like when you used to write, like if you write a greeting card back in the days when you used to write greeting cards and you start like over writing a note on the one side and then you're like, oh, I got more to say. And so then you write on the other side and then you like write on the back and then you like write around the edge. I used to do that back in the day when I had long distance girlfriends and I had so much to say. And so it reads like kind of like that, like you're planning to write a scroll and then you got to the end of the scroll and you're like, wait, I got more. And so you flip it over and you just write all the way back the other direction. Like this scroll contains like multitudes.
Yeah.
There's an argument in the scholarship. I mean, we don't really know what's on the scroll, but as he begins to break the seals in the next chapter, things start to unfold on the earth, and the empire starts to kind of crumble. And so I think seeing that scroll as something like God's plan for the world, or like God's judgment of the nations, or something. And so I think you're exactly right. In order for that to be known, in order for it to unfold, in order for it to be unveiled, to use that language, the seals have to be broken. And initially, there's no one who can break them. There's also 7 seals. So like often in the ancient world, like you would write a scroll that had some sort of message for someone, and you would seal it, and the king would like put their seal on there. And so then you weren't supposed to break the seal and open it. But you only really need 1 seal for that purpose. And so that there's 7 of them. I don't quite know what you do with the 7 there. Do you have thoughts about the 7?
I mean, my only thought at this point is there's lots of 7s all over the place, and that it has this sense of wholeness and completion.
Yeah.
I don't know if it should be, I don't know whether to try to read more than that. But what you were just saying, Bobby, about that in the next chapter, once the seals start to be broken, things actually start to happen.
Yes.
That has me thinking a little bit about what you were just saying at the beginning of our study, that Walter said to you, and you didn't really understand at the time, about like words.
Yes.
What was it exactly?
Speech leads reality.
Speech leads reality. That like opening a scroll causes things to start to happen.
Yes.
Like that is, once the words are in the world, the words are in the world.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
That's a really nice connection. It's a really nice connection.
I feel like maybe this is a silly thing to say, but I need to say it just for myself. Maybe a reminder that scrolls were, I think, pretty much just how books were written down, how things were written down at the time. So like a scroll itself, like we read from a Torah scroll because it is sort of intentionally, we're sort of holding on to that ancient form of the thing. But at that time, that was just the form of the thing, right?
That's right. Codices were coming into existence at the time, but the binding of books, like that was a little bit of a later development. And so, yes, this was the way in which things were commonly written down. And I mean, there could be a religious significance to it, like, like important things are written in scrolls, but also things that are, like not a religious in nature would have been written on a scroll too. That's right.
I find it so interesting that when it tells us that nobody has been able to open the scroll or look into it, it names in particular nobody in heaven or on earth or under the earth. Like there's it's nobody. It's not just we can't find someone or, there's no local person or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's more that's worth saying about that, but it does again sort of invite us to think of all the different realms of existence here, that we're not only talking about what humans are able to do.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And that idea of worthiness, like in a Roman imperial culture, like this idea of being worthy or of like being a person of valor or a person of reputation was really important. And so like you could probably think of a number of people who would claim to be worthy. Like if what we're talking about is like who can reveal the unfolding of history, or who can make the world change, or whatever is about to happen, there are people on the earth that claim that they have that authority, the emperor being kind of first and foremost among them. And so when you say on the earth, and there's no one on the earth, you're saying not the emperor, not the philosophers, not the, not the politicians, not the generals. None of those people thought to have power or special sight actually have it. I think when we're talking about in heaven, we're talking about other divinities. And so we've got, Zeus and Athena and all those folks, like they're not able to do it. When we're talking about under the earth, we're talking about the realm of the dead. And so people from the past, like there's nobody from the past who could do it, even if you could raise them from the dead. And so, yes, so nobody has this like key trait, which is worthiness. nobody living, nobody dead, and none of the gods. Like it's a really dramatic claim that's being made right there.
So you think we're not just talking about angels here, that it's actually like a sense that other gods may exist but can't.
I don't know that
Openness,
Revelation would agree that other gods exist.
But it knows
But I
some
think
people
Revelation
think that.
is saying, I know y'all think that there are gods up here who can do stuff, but there's not.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, my next question's weird. I think it's weird. I find it very moving that John's response is really to openly weep
Yeah.
at the fact that nobody is able to open the scroll or look inside the scroll.
Yeah.
And my question is, why does he want to know so bad? Or what does he think is in there? Or, yeah, I mean, that's really the question. Like, to weep because you can't open the scroll. I don't know. Just talk. How does that resonate for you? How does it make sense for you that he'd be so emotional about it?
Yeah, it is a really interesting, you don't see a lot of images of people weeping in the biblical text. I can only think of a handful. And to be weeping in this particular context is a very particular kind of weeping. The way that I have tended to process it is that John has been living in a context of Roman imperial domination. He's been placed on the island of Patmos due to the preaching of the gospel in some way. And he sort of exists in this realm where, it was like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, that he believes there is a deeper reality and he can see it now. Mm-hmm. But the reality that is active in the world is this Roman imperial reality. And the scroll seems to be the thing that stands between the world as it is given to us by the empire and the deep real world that John now knows for sure exists. But the scroll can't be opened. So it's like, well, I know it's there, but I can't get there. And so what do? You weep because the possibility, you weep because of hopelessness. Like, who can stand against the beast?
So it's not just that he wants to know what's in the scroll. It's that he seems to have the sense, just from seeing this thing with the seals on it, that it is sort of like I don't even know what kind of language to use, but that, this what we talked about before, but I didn't think that he would have realized that by breaking the seals of this scroll, it would start the pulling back of the veil.
Yeah, I don't know if John really knows what's in it. And I mean, I don't even really know what's in it, even though I've read the rest of the vision that he has. But the one seated on the throne, right? Like, here is a God scroll and that needs to be opened. Yeah. And so that scroll has got to mean something about something, the world is gonna come undone, or the veil is going to be lifted, or the reality is going to be revealed or something. Like, maybe he doesn't quite know exactly what that looks like, but I think when you've got a God scroll right there, you think the world is about to change, but then it turns out it's not, because nobody can
open it. Right. We lost the key. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can't open your,
Yeah.
Oh, I almost said maybe we should go on, but we definitely should not go on, because I want to talk about the Lion of the tribe of Judah.
Talk to me about that image, Amy, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David. There's some rich symbolism of some sort happening there. How do you make that connection?
Well, I'll tell you what those things sort of evoke for me, I guess. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, I mean, the lion is the symbol of that tribe. You will still today in the Jewish world sometimes see a lion imagery on things.
Yeah.
Sort of representing the fact that we are of the tribe of Judah. Raising it here makes me really think back to, I don't know, I guess I want to say a more tribal time. Like, even just putting in the word tribe here, like, it feels like we are in the old times now. Like, we're, and a lion, of course, is quite a fierce animal. The
text that occurs to me when I hear that, the Lion of Judah, is that text at the beginning of Amos that says the Lord roars from Zion. And it's the like beginning of this like destruction period at the beginning of that book. And, I've always read that roar as a lion. I think that's the image that's being used in Amos. And so when I read it, I hear like God roaring super loud from Zion. Yeah, just a fierce kind of warrior, like getting ready to show you some stuff and do some stuff to the nations around.
Yeah.
What do you do with the root of David?
I mean, I feel like that one's kind of obvious. Like it makes me think sort of like first of like the branch of David, right? This is the lineage from which the Messiah will come, the lineage that should be ruling over Israel. And then saying the root instead maybe has this sense that, we've had so much language in some of the Hebrew Bible prophetic texts, and then some in the New Testament too, of that being like cut back. And what's left is sort of this little, like from the stump, there's this little thing sort of emerging that has that like imagery of the root to me that I think we've talked about before as a reference to Jesus.
For sure. The one who is in the lineage of David, the stump of Jesse, like that kind of idea is in there. Then what the text says is that he has emerged victorious. That word there for victory or victorious is the word related to Nike, where Nike comes from, the shoe. Like he's wearing his Nikes. Just do it, lion. Yeah. The verb there is nikao, to overcome, to overpower, to conquer, which is the verb that we saw the beast, the sea beast was attributed to that sea beast last week. It comes out conquering the earth. This is a word that was really important in the Roman Empire, and one of the ways that the emperors claimed their like status as emperor. Like, why am I deserving to be the emperor? Because I conquer. And so there is a connection between conquering and worthiness in the Roman Empire. And that same connection is being made here. And so this lion, this David, like David is the warrior king, this conquering, all the images there are preparing us to see this like victorious, like warrior lion who's got blood on his claws because he's been so ferocious. Like, I think that when you're just imagining, like, what are we getting ready to look at? That's what you see, like a lion who can wield power in ways that others can't withstand. And that's what makes him worthy, which is kind of a Roman imperial logic, or at least that's the way that I put that together.
That's really helpful. That makes a lot of sense, that those two things would sort of hang together, and that you would really need that. I mean, I assume we're talking about Jesus here.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, I don't know that John knows that we're talking about Jesus. Maybe he does. I mean,
yeah,
the book surely does, but like the character John that's in the thing, I don't know if he knows we're talking about Jesus, but we're talking about Jesus. Like we, like,
right. Yes. And it is really, I can see how that word would be critically important for that conversation here, and how bringing in language of the root of David and then language going all the way back, really like this Lion of Judah image comes up first at the end of the book of Genesis. Like it's to sort of root things very deeply along the way.
Yes.
Hi everyone, it's Bobby here from Bible Worm. We hope you're enjoying the podcast. Amy and I started Bible Worm a couple of years ago because we wanted to create a space where we could talk deeply about the Bible in ways that bring together our academic backgrounds in biblical studies and our deep engagement with communities and people of faith. We decided to make this resource free because we want everyone to have access to sound biblical scholarship that connects biblical faith to everyday life. We hope you're finding the podcast fits that need. That said, while the podcast is free, making it is not. Amy and I and the rest of Team Bible Worm spend a lot of time and energy studying, recording, and editing the podcast to make it freely available to the public. If you enjoyed the podcast, and if you find yourself in a position to support our work, we hope that you will consider becoming a Bible Worm supporter for as little as $4 per month. For a bit more, you can also get early access to episodes, weekly liturgies, video Bible studies, join a monthly discussion group, and more. We realize not everyone is in a position to support the podcast, but if you appreciate our work and want to support us, we hope you'll check out our Patreon at patreon.com/BibleWormPodcast for more details. Thanks so much for listening, and now back to this week's podcast.
Okay, now we can go on, right?
Yes, let's go on.
Okay, picking up in verse 6. Then I saw between the throne and the 4 living creatures and among the elders a lamb standing as if it had been slaughtered, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent out into all the earth. He went and took the scroll from the right hand of the one who was seated on the throne. When he had taken the scroll, the 4 living creatures and the 24 elders fell before the Lamb, each holding a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints. They sang a new song, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slaughtered, and by your blood you ransomed for God saints from every tribe and language and people and nation. You have made them to be a kingdom and priests serving our God, and they will reign on earth." Then I looked and I heard the voice of many angels surrounding the throne and the living creatures and the elders. They numbered myriads of myriads and thousands of thousands, singing with a full voice, "Worthy is the Lamb that was slaughtered to receive power and wealth and wisdom and might and honor and glory and blessing." Then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea and all that is in them singing, "To the one seated on the throne and to the Lamb be blessing and honor and glory and might forever and ever." And the 4 living creatures said, "Amen." And the elders fell down and worshiped. That was kind of beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Although before it gets beautiful, it's a little scary to me. This image of
Yeah.
a lamb standing as though it had been slaughtered.
Yeah.
It honestly gets less scary to me once it has all kinds of horns and eyes on it, because
Yeah.
then it's not a normal lamb and nothing is normal.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's much. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, can you talk a little bit about the
About
scariness
what's scary
of it?
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like such a silly thing to say because I understand why that would be in this context, assuming again that the lamb is Jesus, is representing Jesus. But the image of something that has been slaughtered, standing up and doing things, I don't know. That's just, I mean, this is probably exactly the point in some ways of why the image is here, but like, that is not supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
And when I see that happening, it means that it means the world does not work the way that I thought it worked, and I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And probably, it's like a little pet cemetery to me, but like it is the stuff of horror movies because this is not how the world works as we know it. And so like the scariest thing in some ways that could happen is that the thing that seems most certain that we are going to die is not fundamentally true in the way that we thought it was.
Yeah.
Do you find it scary, or are you kind of used to it because you live in a different kind of world in that way?
I mean, when as I was listening to you, I was thinking, yes, all of that. But why is that scary? And so, yeah, I think like everything you said is exactly right. And maybe the reason that it's not scary to me is just because this is a familiar idea and some level of familiar text.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, your initial observation there that like this is an image that is nonsense is exactly like the number of flips that we just did to reality in the last 2 verses.
Yeah.
First, we are turning around to see the Lion of Judah, the root of David, who is victorious, and therein lies his worthiness. when we turn around, it's not a lion, it's a lamb. It's not a conqueror, it's one who's been conquered. It's a dead lamb that is yet living. Like even just that phrase, standing as if it had been slaughtered, like that makes zero sense, because slaughtered lambs do not stand very well.
Yeah.
And so it's messing with your head. And the question that it's messing with your head is like, what does it mean to say? We just said he's worthy and he's victorious, but he has not the one that has been slaughtering. He is the one who has been slaughtered. And so it turns all of the perceptions about victoriousness and death wielding on their head, just in one image. It's amazing. The lion is the lamb. The conqueror is the one who's been conquered. The one who is worthy is not the one who can defeat others by wielding death, but the one who has overcome the power of death itself. And so, I mean, you're exactly right. Like everything we thought to be true is not true in this image. That is, death is not the end. And I think the idea is that we who live in the empire have become accustomed to thinking that the way one is victorious, the way one conquers, the way one is worthy to like rule is by wielding death. And here the image is exactly not that. It is succumbing to death, and then in God's power, death itself being overcome. The lamb image has diffused the main weapon of the empire, which is slaughtering with the sword. So it's like that's the way I think. It's all very much not what you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But to me, it's a very empowering. I don't know, empowering is a little bit strange to say because it involves being slaughtered in the middle.
No, but I really see what you're saying. I think part of why it was scary for me, it really might be because of like horror movies.
Yeah.
But I associate the ability to do that with a force of evil.
Yeah.
Probably because of horror movies.
Probably so. Yeah. And this is, I mean, the root here is that the power of life is stronger than the power of death.
Yeah. Bobby, this is maybe a silly thing, but you mentioned that like this, you thought it was a lion, but actually it's a lamb. So this is I was thinking about that image of the lion and the lamb in Isaiah 11. Like in my head, it was the lion laying down with a lamb. And then I looked it up in Isaiah 11, and that's not really what it says. It's a wolf laying down with a lamb and a leopard laying down with a baby goat. So probably unrelated, but it's so often misquoted as the lion laying down with the lamb. Do you think there's any sort of power in the juxtaposition of a lion image and a lamb image being held together in this sort of Jesus symbology?
You know, I think that, so this image is not exactly that, right? Like the lion and lamb together is an image of peacefulness, which I think this is, but I think this is one step past that, which is to say the lion is the lamb. The lion has been lambified.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so the very means of being a lion is to be slaughtered like a lamb, I think.
I was just thinking if they're together in one being, then that is the ultimate. Of course, they're not fighting with each other. Like they are somehow one. But I also like the idea of the lion being lambified.
I just like the word lambified.
I
like that image of they are united in one being. I probably want to. I don't know where to go with that exactly, but I think there's richness there.
Something to think about. I know that 7 has been such a resonant number throughout this text, and that there, are 7 churches that we're talking about in particular that sort of draw this perimeter around a geographical area in the region. And I'm wondering about the 7 horns and the 7 eyes and the 7 spirits of God, and whether you attach them in a particular way to any of that, or if you feel like this is just more like wholeness heaped upon wholeness, heaped upon wholeness, like this exponential sense of wholeness.
I think I probably tend more in that last direction. I have trouble making the direct connections. But, seven eyes is like nothing happens that is not seen when when you have a seven-eyed creature. And those eyes seem to have like remote travel capacity, like they are the seven spirits that are like out in the world. And so I don't know quite, the image doesn't quite make sense to me, but there's some way in which, the Lamb's eyes are also out there observing the world. And so the Lamb knows what is the reality on the earth is.
I think that part of it, the association of the eyes with the seven spirits of God, just like bounced off my brain because I didn't know what to do with it.
It's not an image that makes any obvious sense.
Yeah.
It may connect back to those seven churches and to say like there is you got an eye on you, right? You got a spirit among you, which could be a good thing or it could be a threatening thing. I don't know. But I don't know that we need to limit it to that, like those seven churches. But I think it's like in the whole earth, as it says here.
In this description of taking the scroll from the right hand of the one seated on the throne and that sort of little section that follows, even before we get to the songs, I just feel like there's already so much in that image. Yeah. Do you want to draw something out? I mean, I can tell you what I want to draw out, but
I'm curious what you want to draw out.
What I am really moved by here is this, each holding a harp and golden bowls full of incense, which are the prayers of the saints.
Yeah.
Like that idea of that, incense, that I connect to the incense that was burned in the temple in the presence of God, and then the enormous shift and difficulty for the Jewish community after there wasn't a temple to figure out how they're going to be in relationship to God if that whole system is not accessible anymore. And a lot of it was through prayer. And so the idea that the prayers somehow take the form of incense in these bowls is just really glorious to me.
I love that, Amy. Yeah. I think that's exactly the image here. And, this text is written it's clearly very conversant with Hebrew scripture and Jewish tradition. It's written within probably 30 or 40 years of the destruction of the temple. It's grappling with that exact issue. And what it seems to be saying is the prayers rise up in God's presence like the incense of the temple. So when you pray, you know that your prayer is in God's presence. And in some way, that is what is the sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful. The only other thing, there's just a couple things here too for me. One is, they're not that profound though. One is the four living creatures. If you look back in chapter 4, the four living creatures are described. One is like a lion, one is like an ox, one is like a human being, one is like an eagle. And those are the creatures from Ezekiel's wheel chariot in Ezekiel chapter 1.
They sure are.
But it has, in Ezekiel, each angel has 4 faces, and those are the 4 faces. Here it seems to be that they've been sort of pulled apart into 4 different creatures. And so I don't know exactly what that means, but we have a clear connection here to this throne room with that text. The 24 elders seems to be a reference to the 12 tribes of Israel times 2, which is probably trying to say something about the wholeness of the Jewish people as well as the wholeness of the Gentile nations as well, or something like that.
So the 24 elders are like the tribe, representing the tribes plus, 12 proverbial tribes of the Gentile world.
Yeah, that's what I think. There's probably other ways of putting that together.
Yeah.
But that's the way that I think about it. In verse 9, the text says they took up a new song.
Yeah.
There's lots of images of songs in the scriptures. So this is in that tradition of singing songs, but it's a new song.
Yeah.
So I was just curious, how you think about both the songness, but also the newness of what is being sung here.
It's that at a Friday night service in the Jewish world, we'd sing through several psalms, and many of them refer to Shir Chadash, to a new song, like Sid, Shiru Shir Chadash, sing a new song. So it felt very sort of like at home and kind of resonant to me. And ironically, one of those, Psalm 96, is the one that if I use a different melody than the one melody the community likes, they get so upset with me. I'm like, okay, we're going to sing the same new song every week.
That's hilarious.
Fine.
Yeah.
But to me, it sort of is the same as like, the new light or Chadash. Like it's something new is happening. Something that, yes, you are singing, presumably with joy, what I would associate with it, but it's something different is happening, and it requires a different kind of song.
I love that, Amy. And I think that, the new thing that has happened is the resurrection of the Lamb, the slaughtered one who is no longer dead. And so I think that's exactly right. In the way that these other moments, like the song that's occurring to me is Miriam's song, which she sings, Moses' song when they cross the Red Sea. And these moments where the world changes, like a song is necessary. And here is a world-changing moment. And the song itself is talking about the slaughteredness of the Lamb, and the worthiness is exactly in the being slain, like taking the violence of the empire and yet still living. That's the worthiness. The language that's used here in verse 9 in the CEB, by your blood you purchased for God persons from every tribe, language, people, and nation. Like, I don't quite know how to unpack that, but to me, some people have read that as like sacrificial atonement, like Jesus slaughtered like, a whole burnt offering or something to appease God. But I would prefer to read that, I think contextually, as more akin to the Passover lamb, whose blood marks chosen people here, not just the Jewish people, but also believers in Jesus, as a protecting blood from the angel of death. And so it's not been to appease God, but to protect the people from death itself. And so maybe there is some sense in which death has a claim on people, and that blood has, the word purchased here, like that blood has bought back from death those people for God, or something like that. And so the bloodiness of Jesus is not like he's been ritually slaughtered in some sort of way to satisfy God, but he's been violently killed by the empire, and his blood has become a protector of life for the people. There's probably other ways of putting that together, but that's the way that it makes sense to me.
What stood out to me in that part of this song was, I guess I had always thought of that, like Jesus had died for the people, like something with the people were, I don't know, increasingly cut off from God or destined to be increasingly, whatever, something like that. And by virtue of his death, they no longer are. And so it was sort of like for them.
Yes.
And here it sounds like it is for God, like you ransomed for God, or you purchased for God. Yeah. And then it says, you have made them to be a kingdom and priests serving our God. Like it sounds like, it just flips it a little bit. Like it's not like I didn't think God cared before, or it's not like I think it isn't still good for the people here. But I just remember that we have talked a little bit in our Revelation conversations about the revival of some servant language, like that humans are servants of God, or meant to be servants of God, or something that stood a little bit in distinction to the way that Paul thinks about it or talks about it. And so I saw some of that maybe in here also.
Yeah, I had not made that connection before, but I like that a lot. That, in the way that, Sinai, for example, creates a people for God. The claim here is that this event also has created new people for God in some way, not just for their own sake, but also for God's sake. I really like that, the mutuality of the relationship that is produced.
The other thing that I thought was lovely here was that they Okay, who's singing this first song? It's the elders.
4 living creatures and the 24 elders.
Okay, so some elders and some animals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then this huge angelic choir, thousands
Yes.
of thousands and myriads of myriads, sings sort of in response to them, like, or they're the ones that sing second,
Yeah.
I'm thinking again of that scene in Isaiah 6 where Isaiah hears the angels praising and is totally overwhelmed by the whole thing and doesn't know how to participate in this in any way. And in this case, first they're singing to Jesus or about Jesus instead of the one who is seated on the throne, God. But in any case, that the angels do it sort of responsively. And I don't know if there's a lot to say about that, but the inversion was powerful to me.
Just thinking about like how like the CEB's translate the myriads upon myriads doesn't mean much to me, but the CEB transposes it to millions. They numbered in the millions, which I think is probably a loose translation of myriads.
Yeah.
Maybe 10,000, 10,000s, I guess. But like just imagining just the sheer volume of that, like angels singing in full voice. Like this is like when you think about like the Alleluia chorus sung on Easter Sunday or something, this is like that times a billion. Like it's pretty amazing to think about. I like that responsiveness of it. And also what they're singing about is that worthiness again. Like we are talking about who is worthy. That's what we've been talking about this whole text. And when we talk about who is worthy, we're also talking about who is not worthy, which is like everyone else, including the emperor. Mm-hmm. And so all the things are attributable to the Lamb: power, wealth, wisdom, might, honor, glory, blessing. He's the one that deserves all of those things. And again, it's because of the slaughteredness. And so we keep having that like that inversion is about the defeat of death and a total sea change in what makes someone worthy of honor. And that's what produces this like heavenly chorus.
And then all that creatures on earth, all the different realms on earth sing, and the creatures in this vision say amen. Like it's just such an interesting back and forth of like who is leading things and who is responding to whom, and all in this long chorus of praise.
We had this really interesting conversation in the Bible Worm Collaborative about that verse 13. I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth. That parallels what we read earlier about worthiness.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we said earlier was none of those creatures are worthy. And now here we have all of those creatures proclaiming the worthiness of the Lamb. And so not only are they not worthy, but they recognize the Lamb's worthiness. We also get the addition of the sea. And we were not sure what to do with the sea. It seems kind of pointedly there.
Yeah. You know what stood out to me in this verse, and I wonder if it fits in with what stood out to y'all, is it says the creatures, every creature in all these places, and then it says, and all that is in them.
Yeah.
What do you mean all that is in them?
Wait, mine doesn't say that. Read it again.
Oh, my translation is, then I heard every creature in heaven and on earth and under the earth and in the sea and all that is in them singing.
Oh, the CEB has, I heard everything everywhere.
I mean, yeah, because the CEB intentionally tries to make it make sense, which can be nice.
Yeah. I wonder if it means not just creatures, but also like, like when I read the CEB, what I'm thinking is like, oh, the rocks will shout, like that kind of idea.
Yeah.
The whole of creation.
It made me wonder, I think, that part that, anyway, together, having the sea and all that is in them or in it juxtaposed that way made me think also of a psalm that we sing every Friday night, Yoram Hayam Umalo, like the earth is singing and everything in it. So I wonder if
I'm sure.
I wonder if that's it's a very interesting thing to add on when we've already talked about all the realms in general terms.
But to me, the move that gets made there, and I really like it, is you move beyond creatures like animated objects, and you move toward all things. And so the whole of creation, I think that's a really beautiful idea. The specifics of the sea, I kind of wondered, the sea is the source of chaos, and Tiamat and Leviathan's in there. And so the addition of the sea there maybe means that even the forces of chaos or something like that.
That would be pretty wild, because I don't think this is going to end well for them.
Maybe not. I mean, that actually leads me to a last thought, and I'm really curious what you'll think about it. There is a way of reading this verse that is universalistic in its scope of salvation, which is to say that in the moment when the Lamb is revealed, that every creature, everything, all of creation is going to recognize and bless the Lamb. And if what is needed in order to be in New Jerusalem, as this text is going to call heaven at the end of the book, is to recognize the worthiness of the Lamb, there's an opening here to read this as the scope of salvation is universal, not only to all creatures, but to all of creation. And from within my little Christian heart, that is a really beautiful idea. But I'm curious how you respond, either to that reading of the text or just to the idea of a universal scope of salvation based on the blessing of the Lamb.
Yeah. So clarifying question, but people have to recognize the worthiness of the Lamb. Like the Lamb is fundamentally different from any creature.
I mean, what this text says is every creature is going to shout or to say, blessing and honor and glory and power belong to the one seated on the throne and to the Lamb forever and always. So it's not saying that they should or that they must. It's just saying that they will. And what I'm saying is, well, if that's true, then the step beyond that is that this text is envisioning universal scope of salvation.
Yeah, where everyone becomes Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a normal, make it sound like a skin rash. I think that's a normal thing it's a beautiful vision for a religion to have. Everyone is welcome and they will all recognize the power that we recognize. And it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Judaism doesn't have that specific kind of vision, but it does have this sense where like this sort of like hope in the future that everyone will recognize the power of recognize the one God.
Yeah. The nations will stream to Zion.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know that I would say I think it's like, touching that Christianity is hoping for that for itself, but I also don't think it's like any more troublesome than all the other religions I know of that have that vision. I think it's a vision that makes sense.
Yeah.
Within the context of any given religion. Like if you really have that truth claim, then it's wonderful that you imagine that everyone will be with you in that truth claim.
Part of the reason that I raised that question that way is because Revelation is going to spend a fair amount of time trying to destroy idolaters. Like they get thrown into the fire any number of times. And yet they still persist at the end of the book, which is so fascinating to me. But given a choice, like it seems to me like you have two choices from within a religion like mine. One is to say that God is going to destroy all those who remain idolaters. The other is to say that all the idolaters eventually will experience salvation. And if you got to pick between those two, then I'm going to pick the universal one, But I get that. But I take your point.
Yeah, it's a truth claim.
Yeah, it's a truth claim.
I'd like to have a truth claim.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what else you have in mind that's coming is helpful context for that. All right, Bobby. This was a beautiful chapter.
It's a lovely chapter.
Yeah. What's feeling important to you about it right now?
One of the books that I spend a fair amount of time with thinking about Revelation, it's kind of an old book by now called Unveiling Empire, written by Wes Howard-Brooke and Anthony Gweither. And the way that they frame their argument is basically that Revelation presents you with two symbol systems. One, what we talked about last week, the beast, the dragon, the Rome, and the other is the slaughtered lamb. And that what Revelation is putting on the table for a Christian believer is these are the two worlds that you could inhabit. And you can inhabit either one of them, but you need to make a choice. And what this text is putting on the table is that the way of the Lamb is about worthiness and victory that is achieved not by wielding death, not by slaughtering, not by shedding the blood of others, but by following the way of the Lamb, who is the one who is worthy. And the Lamb's worthiness is precisely in having received the death blow and been resurrected to the other side, been like defeated death itself. And the invitation is that followers of the Lamb can also live in that way. And the flip side of that is if you start conquering like the beast conquers, instead of conquering like the Lamb conquers, then you have gone over to the way of the empire and you have lost the way of the Lamb. You no longer understand what true worthiness means. In my mind, this is a radical, powerful, in some sense for me, impossible invitation to nonviolence that refuses to be afraid of the power of death and says, death, where is your sting? Right? There is resurrection. And so what can the empire do to me? And if you need proof, like you thought the empire slaughtered the Lamb, and there it is standing right there as if it had been slaughtered. And so to me, this is a really, I don't quite know what to do with it, but it is a very convicting image for me about what it means to be a Christian in the world and to make a choice about the empire that I will serve, whether it's going to be Caesar's empire or God's empire. So I don't quite know how to live that out, Amy. Like I struggle with it, and especially being someone who lives where I do in the time that I do when, the empire is doing all sorts of things in my name. And what does that mean when I wake up on a Tuesday? But it is a important image for me as I think about what it means to be a person of faith in the world. That's what I got.
That's pretty good. And yeah, I think pretty convicting to all of us all around. Yeah, that's beautiful.
What about you, Amy, when you're seeing this kind of strange text? What stands out to you?
There was, as you heard, a lot of different ideas and images in here that were really interesting and evocative for me. I think that for whatever reason, my heart or mind keeps being drawn back to the question I asked near the beginning of our conversation, which is, why do we want to know so badly what's in the scroll?
Yeah.
And all the ways in which I feel like I hold myself back from trying to want to know things that are just not mine to know.
Yeah.
And when that's sort of appropriate and when it's not appropriate. And it had me thinking of this line from Exodus 33, when it's like after the beginning of the golden calf episode, and Moses is communing with God up on the mountain and says, I want to see you.
Yeah.
Like, this is too, I need to see you. And, Moses is in this incredibly stressful moment trying to lead these people that he has minimal relationship with through this incredibly difficult situation. And he has a God that he can't see. And then God says, you can't see me and live.
Yeah.
And every B'nai Mitzvah student likes to point out that, but then Moses does kind of see him, not like fully face to face, but he does kind of see him and doesn't die. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I had one student a few years ago who said, maybe it means you can't see me and live in the way that you have lived before.
What a smart student.
I mean, really a smart student.
Like a preteen.
This was a 12-year-old.
That's amazing.
It was an amazing conversation. And he was just wondering how it changes people to know things or not know things. And then especially to be able to, like, if you have all the mysteries revealed to you, everything is just, it's going to be different. And that's, what's of course going to happen in the book of Revelation. Yeah. You can have the revelation and everything is going to be different. So that's what's rising up for me. That's sort of what I'm feeling with this chapter. And,
that's beautiful, Amy. And that fits so well with what I was saying. I think that like once you have seen, and once the power of violence and nonviolence has been made plain, then you can't live the way that you did before once you've seen. But it's not clear how to live differently. And so
that's right.
So there's a new struggle.
Well, I look forward to seeing what's next. What's next is that we're going backwards a little more.
Yet still more.
One more time. To Revelation chapter 2, verses 1-7, and chapter 3, verses 1-22.
Yeah. Amy, thank you so much for this conversation. And thanks for honoring Walter with it. And may his memory continue to be a blessing for us all.
May his memory be a blessing. Yeah. Can you hear it? Thanks, Bobby. I'll see you next time.
See you then.
Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Bible Worm. If you've enjoyed this free podcast, we hope you'll help us keep it going by joining our Patreon for as little as $4 per month. You can also sign up for other goodies like early access, video lectures, weekly liturgies, and more. Visit patreon.com/BibleWorm podcast for details.
Bible Worm is produced and edited by Bobby Williamson. Our theme song is sung by Colin Bagby, and our theme music is The World at Large by Dano Songs. Many thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping make this podcast possible.
Join us again next time when we'll jump back one more time to Revelation chapter 2, verses 1-7, and chapter 3, verses 1-22. Until then, keep on digging.